UFC Fight Night Vegas 108, Taira versus Park just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main events, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and my overall event recap as well, starting with the early prelim opener of Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlen Souza. Now, the prelims of this card were very, very weak, but towards a few fights at the end of the night, we got very, very fun. But before that, it was a whole bunch of absolutely nothing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to go through these fights, but feel free to jump ahead to Esteban Ribovics versus Elves Brenner if you want to. I won't hold it against you whatsoever, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlen Souza. So, very close fight, split decision. Ketlen Souza's doing good on the feet. She stuffs a few takedowns. She tries her own, but she can't get them. Piera Rodriguez kind of wins this fight by mixing in the takedowns. And I thought maybe Ketlen Souza would be too masculine to get taken down by Piera Rodriguez. And to be fair, she wasn't held down by her. She wasn't ragdolled by her by any means. But Piera Rodriguez was mixing in the takedowns, mixing in strikes in those rounds as well, keeping busy on total strikes. It was a very close fight, honestly. But we know in women's fights, if you mix in the takedown, you're typically going to win. I thought Ketlen Souza would make it a little clearer than that, but she made it close, and therefore the takedowns gave it to Piera Rodriguez. We move on. Rafael Estevam versus Felipe Bunes. I went with Rafael Estevam to win this fight on short notice by decision, 29-28. He did. Felipe Bunes nearly had him in like a buggy choke in round 1, I believe. But other than that, it was mainly Rafael Estevam controlling Felipe Bunes with his grappling and his superior positioning and his total strikes, keeping busy in moments when he was on top or when he was up against a cage or when he was on the back of Felipe Bunes. So that was basically the story of the fight. Felipe Bunes was the only one with any real submission attempts. But Estevam had complete positional control and would take positional control from the failed submission attempts of Felipe Bunes, who did have a buggy choke at the end of round 1, but it wasn't going to get the finish. So therefore, Estevam ended up on top of him for the entirety of the last minute of round 1. Estevam mixes in his grappling too much. Also somewhat effective on the feet, especially in the second round. Rafael Estevam wins the fight 29-28. He wins. Good job, Rafael Estevam. Really dull fight style. Really hope he doesn't continue to succeed in the sport, but he is doing so far. We move on to another fight up the card, which was Austin Bashi versus John Yannis. This was a no-brainer. Obviously, Austin Bashi was going to go out there and do this. I said he would get a first-round rear naked choke. He got a first-round rear naked choke with ease over John Yannis. John Yannis is not UFC caliber. Should never have been in the UFC in the first place. I know that he stepped up on short notice to save the card, but I honestly think for the image of the company, certain short notice fighters just shouldn't be accepted. I know there's a point with the UFC where they try and say things like, you know, we got to keep this guy on the card, otherwise he loses out on his paycheck. I think we need to normalize show money and a guy not showing up. If it's on a couple of days' notice, and they're going to find some randomer that is not UFC level at all in the slightest, and just put them in there on short notice to get beaten. And they're probably going to give John Yannis another fight in the UFC, even though he lost this one. That's how it works. Once you're under contract, they're probably going to give you another chance. I think we need to draw a limit somewhere. We need to be like, okay, no matter what, there is no replacement opponent for Austin Bashi because there's no one good enough that we can justify being in the UFC right now. So I'd say Austin Bashi, expected victory, but he did it as he was expected to do. We've had a few other fighters that have been out there and they've been expected to destroy very easily in the first round and they haven't been able to do it. So very good performance by Austin Bashi. Can't take it away from him. He only fought the guy that was in front of him, but he immediately went out there, got the takedown, got the rear naked and submitted John Yannis with ease. We move on up the card to another fight, which is Andrey Pulyaev versus Nick Klein. Another perfect read from me here. I said Nick Klein would absolutely fold the second that this became a fight. That's what I said. And in round 2, Nick Klein completely folded the second that this became a fight. And before you tell me, it was the body kick. Don't get me wrong, the body kick is what folded him. It is, okay? That's what crumpled him to the canvas, and that's what the finish was. It was a body kick TKO finish. But you could see it even before the body kick landed. When they were trading on the feet and Pulyaev was landing a couple of punches on him, Nick Klein just started seizing up, didn't want to be there, covered up, not even looking at Pulyaev at all. And if he wasn't shooting a takedown or in on the clinch for a takedown, he just simply didn't want to fight at all. Like, he avoided combat. He went out there first round, desperately pushed for the takedown. Pulyaev actually had really good takedown defense in this fight, but he did give up his back in the first round. He ended up escaping that position by using the cage to kick off and get one of his hips free, and then he ended up on top, and they end up wrestling for a while in round 1, and Pulyaev is doing more damage. But Nick Klein is staying busy in the clinch as well, and I think he landed a couple of punches while he had over-unders on Pulyaev up against the cage. But again, the second that this became a fight, where it was somewhat even, and Pulyaev was landing a few shots on Nick Klein, he completely folded, and then boom, the body kick lands, and then he crumples to the canvas. TKO win for Andrey Pulyaev. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I just don't think Nick Klein should be in the UFC. Same thing happened against Mansour Abdulmalik. He's trying to get takedowns, and if he can't, then he will just cover up and quit and avoid a fight. He wobbled Mansour Abdulmalik with a spinning elbow and then did nothing and stayed there covering up like a bitch. He ain't built for this. He ain't a fighter, so he shouldn't be a fighter. Get rid of him. We move on. Up the card, Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. I said Rodolfo Vieira by submission. He ended up getting it done by decision, which is crazier, in my opinion. Rodolfo Vieira schooling Tresean Gore in a stand-up decision fest. Again, get rid of Tresean Gore out of the UFC. He's called Mr. Vicious because I guess he has a nasty guillotine. That's the only vicious part of his game I've seen in the UFC so far. The guy has moments on the feet where he'll land, but it seems like the only thing that Tresean Gore should be good at, he's not good at all. He should be good on the feet and in the pocket. He should be dangerous and explosive. That's what he looks like. That's how he fights, like he should be. But in rounds 1, 2, and 3 of this fight, Rodolfo Vieira mixed in the grappling and just outstruck Tresean Gore. Round 1, he got a takedown for a moment, and that was really the only takedown of the fight, and he ended up sort of controlling Tresean Gore's legs and sliding himself into kind of like a sat-up mount position against the cage for a moment. But Tresean Gore would work his way out of it, and that was very good from Tresean Gore. And Rodolfo Vieira shot 14 takedowns, only got one of them, even though he did nearly throw down Tresean Gore a few times, which does look good for him on the scorecards and was good for him to wear out Tresean Gore's arms a little bit. But other than that, it was Rodolfo Vieira schooling Tresean Gore with a jab. The whole fight, jab to the head, jab to the body. That's all Rodolfo Vieira had to do, and Tresean Gore was completely shut down by him. Jab to the head, jab to the body. Jab to the head, jab to the body. In the third round, eventually, Rodolfo Vieira starts throwing right hands and left hooks and starts mixing it up a little bit. But for the first 2 rounds, and for the first part of the third round, this was Vieira jabbing his way to a victory against Gore to the body and head, while Gore just fucking threw punches completely out of range. He ain't a fighter. He ain't a fighter. He ain't good at it. Get rid of him as well. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which was Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. Now, smart money was on Nathan Fletcher here, guys. I took Nathan Fletcher to win this fight. And I took Nathan Fletcher to win this fight because I thought that Rinya Nakamura wouldn't be able to grapple with him at all and wouldn't grapple with him. Therefore, this would be a stand-up fight. And so far in Rinya Nakamura's game, we have seen no ability from him on the feet. Muin Gafarov fucking fraud checked him, okay? And Rinya Nakamura had no ability. Once he couldn't get the takedowns on his opponent, previously he had shown no stand-up ability whatsoever. However, he lands a body kick on Nathan Fletcher and folds him in round 1. And it sucks to see, especially when I picked Nathan Fletcher to win, because now it looks like the stupidest pick ever because that body kick landed. That doesn't happen another time out of 100. That is the 1 out of 100 result, and you fucking know it. But good for Rinya Nakamura. It was a really good body kick. You can't call it a fluke, even though it will only happen 1 in 1,000 times when they fight each other. But yeah, it was a body kick, you know. So even though it landed with the toes, because I farted. even though it landed with the toes because Nathan Fletcher sort of like messed up the distance on it, I think Rinya Nakamura was just looking to land a simple body kick, and he ended up actually toe punting the liver of Nathan Fletcher pretty much. It wasn't even a body kick. It was like, was it like a Giga Chikadze kick? It kind of was like a Giga Chikadze style kick, a Giga kick to the body. Just toe blowed him. He just toe blowed Nathan Fletcher right on the liver. Big toe, dug in, straight to the liver. Down goes Nathan Fletcher. TKO'd in the first round with a body kick. Might be the end for Nathan Fletcher's career. Who knows? I thought he got robbed in the last one and then his opponent got cut. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of Nathan Fletcher. But really good win from Rinya Nakamura. He needed this. He's back on track. And he shows some stand-up ability with that body kick finishing Fletcher in round 1. Nasty stuff from him. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which was Kevin Vallejos versus Danny Silva. This fight was actually really annoying to watch. I thought Kevin Vallejos had a really good performance, and I thought he won every single round. I had this 30-27 Kevin Vallejos. I think he schooled Danny Silva. Like, he was better than him in the pocket. He was better than him at finding the body shots. My nose is really itching. That needs to stop now immediately. Thank you. Kevin Vallejos was better at boxing. He had a little bit of a slow start because he wasn't really sure what Danny Silva was going to do. And Danny Silva mixed in a lot of takedowns as well that Kevin Vallejos had to stuff and get rid of. He actually got his own takedown on Danny Silva in the fight as well. But it was mainly Kevin Vallejos sort of being patient, seeing what Danny Silva wanted to do, because the whole fight, I'm not joking you, Danny Silva is taunting like he's up 5 rounds against Kevin Vallejos. Not even possible in MMA. But he's taunting Kevin Vallejos like he is tripling him on significant strikes. And doing all of these things and movements and erratic moves and doing all of these looks and stuff whenever Kevin Vallejos misses. And I'm like, dude, you're not landing shots on Kevin Vallejos. Like, it's all cool and fun when someone's taunting and moving around and doing all of that shit and smiling to their corner like, I've got him now, when they're winning. If you're winning and you're up by far and you're schooling your opponent, start mocking it like that. When Vallejos is outlanding you and beating you every single exchange that you have, stop fucking taunting like that. It felt like cope more than anything. It was Danny Silva trying to do all of these elaborate moves. And he is a prospect in his own right. Listen, he's undefeated in the UFC himself, which can't go unnoticed. You know, Danny Silva's 3-0 in the UFC. Well, 2-0, and he's won on the Contender Series as well. So it was a good matchup between the two of them, but it was just Kevin Vallejos working the body too much, landing upstairs as well. Once he got his confidence going into the second round and the third round, we started piecing up Danny Silva. Okay? And we started getting too good for him. We started to slow down a little bit in round 3. But that's okay because we had already won the first 2 rounds. And we won the third round as well. Even though we didn't even need to win the third round. We won it anyway. And now we are going to be looking for our next opponent in the rankings after this one. Because we are going to become the best fighters in the world. And we are going to beat Gene Silva in the rematch for the title in 2027. And you can write that down, because that's going to happen. Kevin Vallejos makes it look, you know, somewhat easier. He got tested, though. But the thing is with Kevin Vallejos, even when he's getting tested, he's never taken shots that shock him. I think he got hit by a couple of knees here. But you very rarely see Kevin Vallejos get hit with a shot where he's like, holy shit, what was that? You never see him sort of like stumble all over the place or get knocked backwards by something or even get his head spanned by something. You'll very rarely see him with any visible damage on his face. He does a very good job at reading shots and staying defensively aware, and also taking a lot of sting off of the shots and avoiding getting cut open and getting damaged. So, yeah, Kevin Vallejos did his thing. Worked Danny Silva. He's a little bit small for the division. I'll always say that about Vallejos, but he does well, and he looks strong for the division, so I think it adds up. He said he had the, I think he tweeted something like, we got fight of the night, only to be showed up by the feature fight in the co-main event just a little bit later. But yeah, that was a really good performance from Vallejos. Not the domination we were expecting, not the easy finish that we were expecting, but we won nevertheless, and we will be making our way to the top of the rankings. We move on. Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I went with Zaleski dos Santos to win this fight. He was winning this fight very comfortably. Neil Magny gets the job done by second round TKO. I mean, it was the second that he got dominant position on Zaleski. He just kept going for it. And I think Magny, I keep saying these guys quit underneath him, but I think Magny's ground and pound, I feel like he's one of the few fighters, you know, when guys take someone's back and they can't quite get a body triangle because their legs aren't long enough, or they lose position because their legs are too stubby, and like Chandler's not going to be able to hold on to someone's back the same way Neil Magny's able to, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Neil Magny's legs are so fucking long that he's not on top of you that's on top of the canvas. He's on top of you on your back that's on top of his legs underneath you that are on top of the canvas. So the fighter who's got their back taken by Neil Magny, or when he's in mount against them, or he has their back and he has his legs underneath them, he's taken away their ability to use the canvas to get back up because they're fighting against Magny's legs that are the ones keeping him stuck to the canvas. So maybe Magny is just a very difficult guy to escape that position against because of that reason. But other than that, it just seemed like Zaleski gave in as soon as Magny got any dominant position. But, you know, a little bit of tit for tat before then. Zaleski was stuffing the takedowns and got his own takedown and a lot of control time on Magny. And it looked like we were on our way to a Zaleski crafty vet performance where he taught him a lesson or two. But no, Zaleski dos Santos did his thing until he didn't and then got beaten. So, yeah. A couple of moments early on where Zaleski scrambled well and landed good low kicks, but No, he gets taken down and Magny finishes him in round 2 in big 2025. Neil Magny back on track. So who are we going to put him against next? Any good prospects do you guys want to see him against? It's that time again. Yeah, I'm saying he got his matchup. Now it's time to be sacrificed again to our next dude. Islam Dulatov needs an opponent. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. We move on. Up the card, Karol Rosa versus Nora Canal. I went with Karol Rosa. A lot of people were going with Nora Canal. Some people were going with Karol Rosa, though, and she was the favorite at the end of the... by the time the event started, she was the favorite over Nora Canal. And, yeah, she mixed it up on her, man. Round 1, even though Nora Canal landed good shots in the clinch, which I think is what won her the round, is because she was landing good elbows and good knees in the clinch. Karol Rosa was actually doing better work at range. Like, her boxing was landing very good. And she just kept pushing herself into the clinch against Nora Canal, who's a 5-time national Muay Thai champ. I know it didn't look like that at all because she's awful. But she's obviously going to have an advantage in the clinch in terms of striking with elbows and knees. And that's what happened in the first round. Karol Rosa tagged her a few times on the back foot with punches. But other than that, round 2 and 3, Karol Rosa got her takedowns, dominated the fight from there. I don't know what 10-8 round was given out. Maybe the third was given out as a 10-8, but I feel like there should have been more 10-8 rounds given out if that's going to be the case this card. But hey, it's a women's 10-8 round, which don't have to be as dominant, but just clear. And yeah, there were certain rounds where Rosa just got the takedown immediately with good timing on the double leg and kept Nora Canal there the whole round and got somewhat busy with ground and pound strikes, especially in the third round at the end. So that's probably the round that got given a 10-8. Karol Rosa wins, and some judge gave her the first round as well, so good for her. Karol Rosa gets the job done based on the last 2 rounds. I said 29-28 decision. I think that's decently accurate. We move on. Esteban Ribovics versus Elvis Brenner. I said that Esteban Ribovics would get a finish here, but Elvis Brenner is a tough motherfucker, dude. I actually thought he won the second round against Esteban Ribovics as well. And looking back at the stats, I think I'm correct there. Round 1. First of all, this is what we were waiting for the entire card. You go through every other fight on this card up until now. There were some finishes that were immediately, and then we had to sit through 15 minutes of adverts. And there were some decisions that were shit and nothing even happened. This is when the card started and fighters fucking showed up. I feel like Danny Silva was more focused on like taunting than actually winning. Like it was such a lame fight from him as well. Even though Vallejos did all right in his performance, I feel like he didn't have the right dance partner. If Silva was a bit more game, maybe he would have had a bit more of a scrap there. But yeah, Elvis Brenner, Esteban Ribovics was a sick fight. And you know what? It's got to be said. Esteban Ribovics fucking up his pay. Up his fucking pay. Straight up. You see a lot of fighters on the UFC roster with all of this money that they're getting. You know, Angela Hill's making fucking 300K for a win. And I'm just thinking, dude, I've never been entertained. I'll see so many fighters on the roster. I'm like, he's making 400K. He's never entertained me, this fighter. Michael Chiesa can go out there and have the dullest fucking performance ever against Court McGee and get a £350,000 paycheck or dollar paycheck, whatever it is. Esteban Ribovics, whatever his pay is, chuck 10K on each. 10K win bonus, 10K show money. Whatever it is, Esteban Ribovics. Maybe he's a hybrid fighter. Maybe he needs to be a fighter where the UFC gives him a contract where it's 75% to show, 15% or 25% to win. Because it ain't a 50-50 with him. You're getting great product from Ribovics because he's going to show up there to fight every time. I'd be paying him more. And he had a great fight here against Elves Brenner. They're just boxing the whole time. I thought Esteban Ribovics would throw him a few more kicks, but he didn't this fight. He actually didn't throw many kicks at all. But in the fight, round one at least, it was a very close round. Both guys were landing on each other. Elves Brenner was going for a lot of takedowns, but Esteban Ribovics' scrambling and takedown defense was some of the most insane I've seen recently. I mean, the balance that he had and the hip positioning that he had to make sure that no matter where the scramble ended up, he was on top position. Watch back some of those scrambles in round one. They were high-level defensive scrambles from Esteban Ribovics. So that's a part of his game that we saw there. And then in round one, he's boxing up Elves Brenner, but Brenner's landing too. But one time Brenner's going for a spinning elbow or something. Ribovics tags him with a left hook at the same time on the side of the head. And Brenner gets dropped in round one. It doesn't get scored a knockdown, but it was a knockdown. And Ribovics starts teeing off of ground and pound. So Ribovics clearly wins the first round, but Brenner was in it the whole time. Round two, I thought Brenner won the round. Ribovics started to throw a lot. And listen, he threw 95 strikes in the first, 84 strikes in the second, 102 strikes in the third. Overall, Esteban Ribovics threw 281 significant strikes over 3 rounds. Absolutely fucking insane. But round two, Elves Brenner's jab. I feel like because he was backing up the whole time, that's why judges gave the second round to Esteban Ribovics. But Ribovics wasn't really landing as clean in the second round. What the fuck is wrong with my left nostril, for fuck's sake? There you go. Esteban Ribovics wasn't landing as clean in the second round, and Elves Brenner was stinging him with a jab over and over again. So Ribovics would come in and swing right hook, left hook, uppercut, and it would miss and maybe look like he did good. But in that exchange, Brenner would fucking sting him with a piston jab or a really tight straight right hand. And he was cracking Esteban Ribovics a lot in round two, and he actually outlanded Ribovics 48-34. They had the numbers even on the live scoring, but I thought that Brenner was way up. So I gave second round to Brenner. And then round three, Esteban Ribovics starts doing his thing again. He starts having better exchanges on the feet. He's being a little bit better with his pressure. He's starting to throw with a bit more volume whenever he's got Brenner backing up. Brenner's still landing at all times. This is the thing about Brenner. He's always in there. But Ribovics just looked more fresh. He was throwing in combination a lot more. He was a lot more... I think it was because Brenner mixed in the takedowns so much. Maybe if he didn't mix in the takedowns, Ribovics wouldn't have been so comfortable, or would have been more comfortable on the feet, which might have led to a KO win. But I feel like if Brenner didn't shoot 9 takedowns, once you get the first 5 of them stuffed the way he did, maybe dial back on the rest of those takedowns. Because if he didn't shoot as many, maybe he would have been fresher for that third round. But you saw at the end of the third round, Ribovics had more gas in the tank and just started pouring on the pressure on Elves Brenner, dude. Crazy fight. Both guys landing at all times. Both guys getting hit with finishing shots. Ribovics getting hit by spinning elbows to the face and just eating it and then landing a combination back on Brenner, and Brenner eats it and then stumbles all over the place, and then they're back in it, and then Brenner stings him with a jab, and Ribovics goes to the body and finishes with a head kick. So nutty to watch. Esteban Ribovics is one of the more fun fighters in the UFC, and let's give Elves Brenner a fun matchup. He's had Majtek Bekorolblai, Joel Alvarez, and Esteban Ribovics back to back to back. Let's give him something nice. He's probably going to get cut from the UFC, but come on, man. Jesus, not all fighters are treated equally, huh? Honestly, it feels like some guys are punished for even being game to fight tough guys by the UFC just constantly giving them the next toughest up-and-comer. So Esteban Ribovics wins. I don't know what they're going to do next, but him versus Nizim Sadikov, him versus a Chris Duncan. Sign me up. We'll move on to the co-main event here. Chris Duncan versus Mateusz Rebecki. I went with Mateusz Rebecki because you're supposed to. You're not supposed to go with Chris Duncan to win any of these fights, but Chris Duncan keeps fucking winning fights. And Chris Duncan pulls it off. They gave him every round. I didn't give him every round. One judge gave him every round. Round 1, I had to Rebecki. Even though he took a lot of visible damage, he did land a lot more than Duncan that round and was a lot more effective with his punches. But Duncan did cause a cut and a hematoma in that round. So it's up there. 32-19 on significant strikes. But Duncan tagged him with elbows as he came in. Basically, Rebecki spent the entire fight getting outside foot position and circling to his right while Duncan was like tilting to the left, trying to trace him down. So Duncan knew if this guy's going to try and step in and land on me, I'll just throw my lead elbow or my rear elbow or a knee up the middle. He took a lot of steam off the body kick, did Rebecki, by taking the outside foot position. And Duncan doesn't throw punches, really. Like, he won't land a left hook on you or a jab or a... He landed some good twos this fight, though. Duncan gets it done, dude. I think, you know what it is sometimes? Toughness, man. Sometimes these guys are just too much man for their opponent. And even if they don't look like they should be. I watch Chris Duncan on the come up and I think there's no way this guy's going to make it in the UFC. I watch another prospect and I think that's the most talented guy I've seen all year. He gets fucking fraud checked. Not Chris Duncan, no. No fraud checking for Chris Duncan. You know what I mean? I guess you have to be a fucking prospect to be fraud checked. But now Duncan is legit a prospect in the lightweight division. And he's shaking that stigma off of him now. He's just a fucking durable, tough fucking guy that's a fighter. That's going to grit down and go. And he'll cause damage on you. And he's got a good chin. And he's got a good recovery if he does get hurt. And I do think he got wobbled a few times in the first and third round. But yeah, Duncan's just a tough motherfucker, dude. Slow-ass body kick. Slow-ass knee up the middle. Slow straight right hand. Slow elbow. But it lands. And that's all he did the whole fight was, oh, he's coming in, knee up the middle or an elbow. Elbow or a knee up the middle. Oh, he's coming in, big body kick to the arms. Big slow body kick to the arms. Or a big straight right hand as Rebecki comes in. And Rebecki's face was a fucking mess at the end of that fight. An absolute fucking mess. And even though, you know, he could have won the third round on damage because he actually caused Duncan's face to be a fucking horror scene in the third round. Duncan had just done too much damage to his eye. Rebecki's eye is fucked. It must be fucked right now. It looked really bad, and then by the end of the fight, it was just blood. Just blood. So I don't know, maybe it popped. Maybe the swelling opened up and blood just come rushing out. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, Chris Duncan got it done. Round 2, I gave to Rebecki No? Duncan round 2 because of the damage to the eye. But again, Rebecki completely outlanded him. This is so unlucky for Rebecki, man. Looking at these stats. He was way up, like, picking apart Duncan. But he had a fucking face like he'd just been in a fucking horror show. Like a car wreck. Because Duncan's shots were all to, like, cause physical damage on him. Rebecki's trying to take Duncan's head off. He's trying to chin him. He's trying to touch the chin of Chris Duncan. Whereas Duncan, all of the things that he was throwing were like, this is to cut you open. This is to break your arm. This is to break your rib. This is to, you know what I mean? That was the difference here. And I think that's what made it work for Duncan, is that all of his shots caused some kind of laceration or caused some kind of swelling, even though he was the worst fighter of the two of them out there. So really good show from Duncan. Really fun fight. Got a fight of the night bonus for it as well. And now Chris Duncan is up next for a ranked opponent at lightweight. Most likely, which is crazy. Rebecki has to start all over again. Maybe Rebecki had too much scar tissue from the Oral Bly fight. That's probably what happened. And I can see it being a recurring problem throughout Rebecki's rest of his career. So we'll see what happens to him. Moving on. Up the card to another fight, which was the main event. Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun Sung Park. Tatsuro Taira is the real deal, man. He's the real deal. Hyun-Sung Park, listen, this was always going to be the case. I predicted a second round rear naked choke for Tatsuro Taira. Some like Gaylord on Twitter was like, it was a face crank, because everyone's just desperate to correct me. I know, but I was just saying, like, come on, I got it right. It was a different method of getting the rear naked choke. You went across the jaw rather than under the neck, but you know what I mean. Face crank in round 2 from Tatsuro Taira. Taira's going to get to your back. It's as simple as that. That's something we already knew going into this fight. So this wasn't proven to me, but it was just reminded to me like how good Taira is at getting to opponents' backs and how good he is with his offensive takedowns. If he wants the back of his opponent, he's going to get it. Maybe you reverse out of that position. Maybe you out-scramble him and he doesn't quite have the back with both hooks in or a body triangle in. Maybe that's what you're hoping for, but Taira is going to get the back. One way or the other, how good he has the back, that will be determined, but he will find it. He will find his way to it in every single fight. One of the best grapplers that we have in the sport, in my opinion. I hold that to it. I think he's got a solid chance against Pantoja. I wouldn't have said that before, but you know what? After watching him land that right hand on Hyun-Sung Park with good striking defense, and then he timed another straight right hand on Hyun-Sung Park and dropped him with it. That's improved stand-up from Tatsuro Taira. I know he's dropped opponents before finishing them, like Carlos Hernandez. But we haven't seen it in that way. It seems like he's dropped opponents and gone, oh shit, I dropped him. This doesn't normally happen for me. But after this fight, you saw Taira on the feet and you thought, he looks very confident on the feet. He looks very comfortable. Against a guy in Hyun-Sung Park, who on paper should have had the stand-up advantage in the early round. And he got dropped early. And Taira was on him the whole time. Hyun-Sung Park trying to fight out of it and get out of the body triangle. And occasionally he did okay. He did do okay to escape some of those positions and end up back on his feet. But then Taira stayed glued to him and got the takedown again and worked it again and got back to the back. And round 2, the same situation. They're both on the feet. Taira goes for it, gets the back again, and just works the neck crank from the back control. I think Tatsuro Taira is like the best chance at a male Asian UFC champion. We haven't had one ever before in UFC history. I think Taira's got the best chance. I said here, Tatsuro Taira just might have what it takes stylistically to become the first ever Asian male UFC champion. Because I think he matches up well with Pantoja because he can grapple with him and his stand-up is long and dangerous. And I think that grappling edge, I'd love to see it with him and Pantoja. But I also said this. Let's see if he can get through Moreno in a title elimination bout first. I know he's calling out Pantoja on the mic afterwards. Pantoja's next. No more one-fight win streak title shots. I'm fucking done with them. None of them are winning. One-fight win streak title shots. They're all fucking losing. Stop doing that shit over and over again and handing people free legacy. Look at Merab. I know I give a lot of credit to Merab, but the other day I was looking through his resume and thinking, fucking hell, Sandhagen don't really deserve it, and O'Malley didn't deserve the rematch, and yeah, I mean, I'm looking for all of these names, and Umar beat one contender, and now that guy that he beat is going to fight Merab for the title, so it just gets to the point where you're doing the champion a disservice by not letting a contender get built up in the meantime. The champion can sit the fuck out while I get a proper contender in the division. I don't need him fighting every few months, and he's looking down the rankings at number 6. Fuck off. Fuck off. Do Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira on the Noche card in September. Quick turnaround. Taira took 0 damage in this fight. None whatsoever. Get him on the Noche card in September. Co-main event with Moreno. And the winner can take on the winner of Pantoja versus Van. And then you have a title fight in the bank after Pantoja versus Van happens. But let me tell you this. I think Taira schools Van and subs him. I don't know about the Pantoja matchup, but I feel like Pantoja's going to beat Van, by the way. But for that same reason, I think Taira would probably beat Joshua Van. Taira is probably the dark horse of the division. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye. I did okay on predictions. How did I do on predictions overall? Let's go through the card. I went 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, 5-2, 5-3, 6-3, 7-3, 7-4, 8-4. For this card, that's not that bad. I got a few pretty dead-on specific predictions as well. Twice as right as I was wrong. We've been doing good recently with the predictions. Goodbye. Toodle pip. See you later. Yeah.